Peter, I want to I want to get to the budget, but I want to talk to you first about what's happened in Lansing the last week since the protest and unrest in downtown Lansing. And I want to start by saying that last night I watched as these young people sat in front of the Lansing Police Department asking someone to come out to talk to them. And eventually a sergeant came out.
Yes.
And it occurred to me that would have been a great opportunity for the mayor, for the president of city council, for someone to address these people. So I want to ask you about whether, in fact, is the community getting the kind of leadership it needs right now?
Well, I think what's happened is you've got imperfect leaders who are trying to make decisions. And what I think we can do better as leaders is listen more and use that feedback to help make our decisions better. Last night I was not invited to be part of protests. I did not know what was going on. So you're right. That would have been a great opportunity for me to be present in the community and hear from members of our community who are trying to have their voices heard and express their frustrations. Mea culpa, I was not aware of the event and I could not be there. And I think when you texted me, I had already put my phone down for the evening and was either sound asleep or on my way to such a state. So in future, I hope folks feel comfortable reaching out to me to have me be at those types of places. I'll keep my ear closer to the ground to see if there's an opportunity for me to be in places. Sunday's protests, I had every intention of being down there. And then I saw from organizations that I trust on their information that this was not an officially sanctioned event. And they were asking folks not to come down at one point in time. So I didn't go down, and I regret that to this day, that I didn't go and talk to folks in the crowd. And that's something I just got to maybe stay off Facebook and then actually go down there and not heed those warnings as much. But that was my fault. So yes, I do think we can do better. And I proposed middle of this week that we will put together some listening sessions with the City Council's Committee of the Whole. And we're not doing them at City Hall. I'm in the process of trying to spec out some outdoor spaces so we can do it with a socially distant, appropriate amount of space and microphone setup and things like that, to see if we can have a good community dialogue, at least get it started while we're still trying to preserve that social distance. And quite frankly, many people may not be comfortable walking through the metal detectors of City Hall near the police department to come see us on the 10th floor. And I accept that, and I respect that. So it's my responsibility as the leader of this body to figure out ways to bring the conversation to folks who want to have that conversation. So I'm working with leaders in our community to try and identify who would be the best organizations to try and partner to make sure that the grassroots participants are there as well as the leadership. And I hope that we can build from that discussion.
There's been quite a lot of debate in the community about whether tear gas was necessary. What are your thoughts?
I've never had to sit in the shoes of a law enforcement person, and those decisions that have to be made, I've not had to make them. I wasn't downtown, as I mentioned. I don't know exactly how things played out. It's unfortunate that tear gas was deployed, or chemical agents, or whatever the vernacular is. It's specifically unfortunate that there were children that had tear gas in their eyes. I myself, I was in college during the MSU unrest, and I was with some college administrators as a student council person, and got tear gas in my eyes, and it's a very unpleasant, terrible experience. And so I apologize, that folks had to endure that. I don't know if it was the right move or not. I wasn't there. We are obviously going to have that conversation at council about policies related to those types of things. And that conversation, I think, begins on Monday. June 8th is our first council meeting since the protests. And I know there are several members of the council, myself included, who want to piece together timeline of events, the truth, to see if there are weak points in our policies as far as use of force, use of tear gas, crowd control, those types of things, really to get at, are we doing the best we can? I've recently been shown, and my apologies not knowing about it, was the 8 can't wait steps that are being promoted across the country in ways that we can help close opportunities for police brutality to exist. And really create a more supportive law enforcement mechanism. Those are 8 things that I think are great to look at, including de-escalation and weapons as a last resort, those types of things. So I think there's an opportunity to learn here. And while I don't know all of the details, I've read the press releases, I've read comments in the papers, I've read feedback from residents who've sent me emails. We don't have a complete picture yet. And I know that LPD is working to put that picture together, including claims made about a driver who used her vehicle in a crowd. There's video that I've seen that's pretty disturbing. And they're trying to piece together the full picture. And I know council is going to begin that conversation at June 8th, because there are many people, myself included, like I said, who are interested in that full picture and want to make sure that if we did the right thing, then that's what we find out. And if we didn't, how we change policies to reflect higher expectations.
There has been no city press conference with either the mayor or the police chief. Do you think that's a mistake given the severity of what's occurred here?
Well, I do know that the mayor did his video yesterday. I think openness is always a good idea. I try to do like my videos on Facebook after council meetings to allow folks an opportunity to question me about concerns that they have and city business. I think we could do a little bit more to talk, but I also think, Berl, we have to spend some time listening. And that's what I'm planning to do with these listening sessions. I know the mayor's office just announced that they're going to have a town hall with the diversity commission. I think all of those are great steps. Now, I'm not the mayor. I won't second guess whether having a press conference is a good idea or not. It's a very interesting time we live in, where everything's being done remotely as well. That presents its own set of challenges. So I won't make excuses, nor will I make assumptions, but I will say that I think the thing we can't do right now is be quiet and not do anything.
All right, let me turn to the budget. I want to ask you about the $20 million or so bond issue that you approved, City Council approved with your support to give permission to the administration to do it. Is that unprecedented? Do you know?
Are you talking about the Red Cedar, the Montgomery Drain project?
I'm talking, no.
I'm sorry, the cash flow bonds. Yes, I'm sorry. What is it? The tax anticipatory notes. I don't know that it's unprecedented, but it's certainly not something that I think the city has done in recent memory, where we aren't sure we're going to meet cash flow, because when you look at the state guides, the state has suspended tax collections and allowed for the extension of tax deadlines, and so too has the city. That hampers cash flow. We budgeted a budget expecting these dollars to be in the city treasury, and when they're not there because we've given extensions on those payments, it presents a cash flow issue. Now, we fully expect those dollars to be there, when push comes to shove. So these tax anticipatory notes are actually an ability to sort of bridge that gap. They're a lower interest, much larger scaled payday lending operation where we know the money's coming. So we've borrowed to make our bills, to pay our payroll, without having to either make cuts or dip into the fund reserves. That's what those are all about. And it's not uncommon in municipal government. In fact, if you look at school districts across the state, many use state aid borrowing because they anticipate their payments coming from the state, but they have to make payroll in the summer. So it's not uncommon for public bodies to do these types of things. I just think it's not something that we in the city of Lansing have ever done, or at least in recent memory.
Is there any concern about the burden, the additional financial burden this would put on the city? Will the city be able to afford to pay this back?
Well, I believe so. When you look at all the economic modeling, this doesn't appear to be a long-term economic recession like we faced in 2008. The V looks to be rather sharp, at least what I've seen from the state. So I don't think there's a concern about a long-term. In fact, we may be able to avoid these altogether if this administration, I haven't checked to see if the administration's taken them out yet, but if they haven't, we may be able to avoid them altogether. And if not, we might even be able to pay them off sooner when those payments come in.
I believe about 500 employees now are furloughed on Fridays. Uh, but no sacrifice from the administration. I realize any sacrifice by city council is peanuts, but it is symbolic. I'm rather surprised at that.
Well, I don't know the inner workings of the ninth floor, but I do believe that everybody, cabinet level on down, are on the work share program, sure, as well. And as far as city council goes, I know there's a resolution going forward Monday night for a reduction in our pay, which technically we can't do. So that the resolution speaks to the city council members are encouraged to donate 10% of our elected officers compensation committee salary back to the city. You know, one of the things I had proposed, maybe, or thought about out loud rather, was allowing that shared sacrifice to be made by donating to local charities like the food banks, you know, figuring that the dollar might go farther, because my $2,000, you know, back to the city general fund checking account doesn't do a lot, but maybe $2,000 to the food bank might. But I don't know where that conversation will go. I'm happy to write the check back in a show of solidarity with folks at City Hall.
Peter Spadafore, thanks so much for being on City Pulse.
Thank you, bro. You have a great day.